All right, algebra, here we are. Section 3 of chapter 1. We're going to actually break this up into two separate videos. We're going to focus on solving today and then work more on the how many solutions things have tomorrow. So I'm just choosing, and you guys should do the same with your OneNote. Choose a color that's working for you today. I'm going to probably like zoom in on things. I'm using 2 fingers, pinching that apart. So do that as it works for you. You can see here what we're going to do today are steps. We're going to simplify each side by combining like terms if that applies. We are going to collect the term with a variable onto one side, either both on the left or both on the right. And then lastly, we'll solve to isolate the variable, and that's what gives us our solution. So if we look at this first problem, I'm going to look at this as 10 minus 4x, and I see that over here there are, on the right-hand side, there are only x's. So what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to add 4x to each side. This side cancels, I've got 10, and the negative 9 plus 4x is negative 5x. So there was no simplifying of each side. I have now collected all of the variables over here on this right-hand side. And then, of course, just divide both sides by negative 5. We get negative 2 equals x. And it's totally fine, guys. I know a lot of times you want to write the x on the right-hand side. This is fine. To check, honestly, by algebra, I do part of this mentally and part of it using the calculator, and I write down little parts of it. So I've got 10 minus, and then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And then I'm trying to see if that is equal to negative 9 times negative 2. And this side is 18, and this side is 18. So boom, cool. We did that correctly. All right, moving on to the next one. Over here on this left-hand side, I can see that I've got a 6x and a negative 10x. So I am going to drop down the 8. I am going to combine those into negative 4x. And then I'm just bringing everything else down. And then step 2 up above said to combine all the variables onto one side. So on this side I have negative 8x, on this side I have negative 4x. So what I know is that if I add 8x to both sides, I will wind up with positive x's. I personally like to get rid of negative x's when I can. So I'm going to drop that 8 down. Negative 4 plus 8 is a positive or plus 4x. Bring down the equal sign and the 16, those got eliminated. Then keep going, minus 8, minus 8. And I'm gonna go quick because this part you should be like, oh, I got this. Divide by 4 and divide by 4 and x equals 2. And guys, you can always pause or slow down these videos if any of us get to talking way too fast. As far as checking, like I said, I do part in my head. So I've got that 8 plus 6 times 2 is 12 minus 10 times 2 is 20. I'm trying to see if that is equal to 16 minus 8 times 2 is 16. This side's super easy, that's 0. This side too, 8 plus 12 is 20, and 20 minus 20 is 0. Wahoo! We are awesome. Let's keep going. And again, if you're like, she goes way too fast, you can pause, write something down, go back, listen again. That is the awesome thing about video notes. All right, looks like we've got a little distributing over here on this problem. So this 10 squished up against implies multiplication. So we're going to distribute that 10 or multiply it by both things, and then do the same thing over here with that 2. I like to draw this little claw to help me remember to multiply both things. This 5, if I were distributing candy in class, oh, the good old days, you would definitely want me to give it to this side of the room and that side of the room. So make sure you always distribute fairly. And then over here, same thing. 2 times g is 2g. 2 times a positive 9 is a positive 18. Keeping with looking at my 2g and my 10g, I am going to choose to subtract 2g because that keeps me with positive g's over here. Again, I like positives. I feel like anytime I can avoid a negative, I do, to simplify things. So the 2 g's crossed each other out or canceled, inverse, positive and negative. And we've got 18, and now I'm going to go pretty quick here because we did these type last week. Those cancel. We've got 8g equals negative 32. We're going to divide by 8 and divide by 8. And you're like, ah, stop going so fast. Pause me. Always, guys, pause it when you need to. So we got g equals negative 4. So we're going to check that. Awesome thing about algebra, when we get into quizzes and tests, you can always check. So I am putting this negative 4 in for g in both of these places up top. If both sides are equal, we did it correctly. So I'm plugging that in. Then I'm going to do some math here in my head. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. So here we've got 10 times 1, which is just 10. Here, negative 4 plus 9 is 5. So over here, we've got 2 times 5, which is also 10. Wahoo! All right, moving on again. Pause if you need to. Oh, my stars, I see a fraction. I don't like fractions. I agree with you guys. And the first thing I notice when I'm going to be distributing through a 1/4 is that both 32 and 56 are divisible by 4. So I'm like, okay, sweet. I've got this. No problem. So we're going to start back over here. We're going to get 9x minus 12. Bring down the equal sign. 1/4 of 32. Remember, when you multiply by 1/4, it's the same thing as dividing by 4. Let's do a little bit of fraction work here. So if I rewrote 32 as 32 over 1, and I'm multiplying by 1/4, top times top is 32. Bottom times bottom is 4. 32 divided by 4 is 8. Okay, so that's what I meant. When you're multiplying by a fraction, it's the same thing as just taking 32 divided by 4. So that's 8x. And then 1/4 of 56, or 56 divided by 4, is 14. Now, in keeping with my liking to have positive variables, I've got 8 x's here and 9 here. I'm going to take 8 x's off of both sides, so subtract 8x. Now I've got x all by itself. Bring down the negative 12 and the equals. These cancel. Bring down the 14. Adding in the 12, we get an answer of x equals 26. That's pretty big. I'm like, am I right? Well, let's make sure. So we're going to go down here and check. We're going to plug that 26 in. And actually, I'm going to do the math right here as we go. So instead of writing down the 3 times the 26, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 times 26, which is 78. And then we have minus 4. Over here, we've got 1/4. We have to do 32 times 26. I'll be honest, I used a calculator, and I got 832 plus the 56. Yeah, use a calculator, guys. I don't expect you to be able to do 32 times 26 in your head. So then, order of operations, starting right here in the parentheses. 78 minus 4 is 74. When we multiply that out, again, I used a calculator. That's 222. We think we're going to get it on this side, but you always make sure. When I add 832 and 56 together, I get 888. We can do that in our head. 1/4 of all those 8s is a 2 and a 2 and a 2. So, wahoo, give yourself a smiley face. All right, again, if I'm too fast, you certainly slow it down. So then, looking here, it says you complete before class. And we may not have done this exactly like this in the previous weeks. We've been learning all the technology. But the idea is before we see you either on Zoom or in person, that you have finished these 4 problems on your own. And then we will go over those with you. Moving on to here. We are definitely going to use our big, awesome, fancy graphing calculators at some point, but we are not right yet. Okay, but if you haven't gotten it, please do. It's coming. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add in an example down here that I want you to write down as well. I think you're going to see one of these types of problems, and it didn't happen to get put into the notes, so we're going to add this problem. Okay, so please jot that down. The way you would read that to yourself is p plus 15 divided by negative 2. Try to get in the habit of saying divided by instead of over when you're reading a fraction. So The p plus 15 are stuck together up here in the numerator. We want to get rid of this part first. It's down here by itself. So we are going to multiply both sides by negative 2. Divided by, remember this fraction bar means divide. Divided by negative 2 and times negative 2 are inverse operations. They cancel each other out, leaving us with p plus 15 on that side. Wow, that looks way nicer now. Whew. On this side, negative 3 times negative 2, of course, is a positive 6. Now we simply do the subtract 15 on both sides. We get p equals negative 9. And then to check, we have negative 9 plus 15 in the numerator divided by negative 2. If I work the top of that, that is going to be 15 plus negative 9 is 6 on top. 6 divided by negative 2 is indeed negative 3. So we are awesome. All right, so like I said, I know I'm a fast talker, but you can slow this video down. You can play it in slower speed. You can pause anytime you need. All right, unfortunately, we are not in class, so we cannot work with a partner. Maybe one day soon, but from now, nah. You've got me as your partner. It's cool. Let's talk through these so that you know what's up and we haven't really done any application problems yet. So here we go. It says the two polygons have the same perimeter. Remember, perimeter is the distance all around a shape, all added together. Use this information to write and solve an equation involving x, and then we're going to talk you through the process as we go. So let's start with this shape on the left. I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms as I write my expression for the perimeter. I'm not going to put an equal sign in there yet. I've got 2 x's, and then here's 5, 10, 12, 14. So that one's perimeter is a 2x plus a 14. Do the same thing for this other shape. The only x term I see is 3/2 x. Remember, 3/2 is just like 1.5. And then we've got 5 and 4 is 9. There's 12. There's 15. So plus 15. Okay, just combined like terms as I was writing those down. So the equation, remember equation has an equal sign in it. I'm going to set those two things equal to each other. So 2x plus 14 equals 3/2 x plus 15. And then 3/2 is like 1.5, so I'm going to subtract that one from both sides, combining like terms here. I'm going to zoom in. Remember, you can do that anytime when you're trying to write smaller or need when it's not getting really, you're not able to write really neatly. Zoom in. It helps a lot. Okay, again, we said this is like 1.5, the 3/2. So 2 minus 1 1/2 is 1/2 x. Bring down the plus 14 and the equals. These guys canceled, and we have 15. Subtract 14, we have 1/2 x equals 1. And then remember, to divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so to divide by 1/2, you actually multiply by 2/1. Or guys, think to yourself, you're trying to take this one whole pizza and divide it into halves. How many halves will there be? 2. So that makes sense why you actually multiply when you're trying to figure out how many halves of one pizza you have. So that's our answer right here. The value of x equals 2. And then you should always check yourself. So really quickly, I'm going to even change colors because we're in a check mode here. So if I put a 2 here and a 2 there, adding all of these numbers up, I get that the perimeter of that one is 18. 3/2 or 1.5 times 2. Remember, you can do 2/1. Gives a 6/2, which is 3. So this side is 3. And adding 3, 6, 9, plus these 9. So I added 3 and 6 and 9, plus these 2 over here make another 9. This one is also 18. We are rock stars. All right, and again, I know I'm going through these pretty quickly. Pause anytime you need. Last one. All right, guys, it was brought to my attention by an awesome student that I made a mistake up here. So what happened is I did not count in this 2. So everything that I'm fixing, I rewrote in green. So right there, I forgot this 2. So that would have made this perimeter, instead of being 15, that would have made this a 17. So right down here, I reworked the equation, and I got x equals 6 this time. So when I plug that back in up here, 3/2 times 6, you can see that in green right here, you actually get 9 for this up here. When I add those all up together now, I get 26. Plugging in that 6 over here for x as well makes these 6's instead of where they were red 2's. When I add those all together, I get 26. Sorry about that. My bad. Nobody's perfect, but thank you for pointing it out. Not here to work with a partner, so we're going to talk it through together. We're not going to solve this whole problem. We're just going to set it up. It says that weirdly, this figure has the same area as it does perimeter. So perimeter is the distance all around, area of this rectangle, and then there are 2 triangles up top. So we're going to use that information to write an equation. We could do the whole problem, but we're going to stop after that. So first, let's start over here with area. Figure 1, let's call it the triangle. And remember, for a triangle, you do 1/2 times the base times the height. A triangle is a half of a rectangle, so it makes sense we have to do the half. So for each triangle, we've got 1/2 times 3 times 5. Here's your height, that 3, and then the 5 is not your base. Ugh. I'll be honest, guys, I did this on my paper, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is no problem. All right, what we do have, this just got a lot harder. All right, we have to use the Pythagorean theorem to find this dimension right here. Okay, they did not give us that. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We do not know the, let's call the height the 3 squared. We don't know the b squared, but we do know the 5 squared. So that's 9 plus b squared equals 25. Okay, subtract 9, we get b squared equals 16. So the b is 4. So this distance from here to here is 4, the bottom of that triangle, and over here, from here to here is also 4. So I'm gonna go back and erase. I'm glad I caught this instead of just telling you the wrong thing. So instead of using the 5, I'm gonna erase that. We're gonna be using the 4. So the 3 is the height, the 4 is the base that we found. This problem was more complicated than I thought. That's okay. All right, then you can multiply in any order you want. So 3 times 4 is 12, half of that is 6. Okay, and then remember that's for each triangle. So we actually have 2 6's. All right, and then down here, thank goodness rectangles are easy. Rectangles are just length times width. So we've got 4 times x. Here's 4 and here's the x. So on a rectangle, just 4 times x. The area sum right here means what's up with all the areas together. We have a 4x for the rectangle part plus 12. Mrs. Wenger, why did you put plus 12? I think my video stopped. I'm not positive. But because there are 2 triangles. So I'm going to keep going. The area expression is 4x plus 12. The perimeter expression, we didn't even make that yet, is going to be x from here plus 10 up top plus 18. Area equals perimeter. And then we could solve that. I don't know that you're still here. If you are down here, you can use this space to show work on OneNote. Okay, you don't have to do this, or sorry, on IXL. You don't have to do this, but that's a great place to write it. Then you never need paper, so you can split screen with your IXL and that.